بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد عن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال كان في من كان قبلكم رجل قتل 99 نفسا فسأل عن عالم أهل الأرض فدل على راهب فأتاه فقال إنه قتل 99 نفسا فهل له من توبة فقال لا فقتله فكمل به 100 ثم سأل عن عالم أهل الأرض فدل على رجل عالم فقال إنه قتل 100 نفس فهل له من توبة فقال نعم ومن يحول بينه وبين التوبة انطلق إلى أرض كذا وكذا فإن بها أناسا يعبدون الله فاعبد الله معهم ولا ترجع إلى أرضك فإنها أرض سوء فانطلق حتى إذا نصف الطريق أتاه الموت فاختصمت فيه ملائكة الرحمة وملائكة العذاب فقالت ملائكة الرحمة جاءت تائبا مقبلا بقلبه إلى الله تعالى وقالت ملائكة العذاب إنه لم يعمل خيرا قط فأتاهم ملك في صورة آدمي فجعلوه بينهم فقال قيسوا ما بين الأرضين فإلى أيتهما كان أدنى فهو له فقاسوه فوجدوه أدنى إلى الأرض التي أراد فقبضته ملائكة الرحمة وفي رواية في الصحيح فكان إلى القرية الصالحة أقرب منها بشبر فجعل من أهلها وفي رواية في الصحيح فأوحى الله إلى هذه أن تقربي وإلى هذه أن تباعدي فقال قيس ما بينهما فوجد إلى هذه أقرب بشبر فغفر له أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا Alhamdulillah, this is the hadith number 8 in the chapter of Tawbah. This hadith is narrated by Hazrat Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu. Hazrat Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu, his name is Sa'ad, the father's name is Malik, and the grandfather's name is Sinan. So Sa'ad bin Malik bin Sinan, and the mother's name is Anisa bint Abi Haritha radiallahu anha. The mother and the father of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu, both of them had accepted Islam. So from young age, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu had the correct upbringing and the atmosphere and the nourishment, and he was brought up in the Dini environment. From young age, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu tried to take part in any matters of the deen. Around the age of 12 or 13, he wanted to take part in the Battle of Uhud, but because of young age, he was rejected. Then after that, any battles that took place, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu himself, he said that he took part in around 12 battles after that. His father was martyred in the Battle of Uhud. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu himself, he took part in the construction of Masjid al-Nabawi. He's among the young Sahaba. And at the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, at the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu, he used to give fatwa. So he was a mufti at that time. He spent his life in Madinatul Munawwara, and around the age of 74 or 86, in the year 74, he passed away on a Friday and is buried in Jannatul Baqi. And from him we have 1,170, around 70-75 ahadith. So from the mukaththirun fil hadith, meaning those who have narrated the most number of ahadith, he comes on number 7. So he has narrated over 1,100 ahadith from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So this is one of the hadith that he narrates. So he says that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, كَانَ فِي مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ رَجُلٌ, that from the nations before, from the people before you, there was a person. From this we learn that to narrate a story in order to take lessons, as long as they are true and they are in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is permissible to do so. So to narrate a story of any nation, from any nation before. So here we will learn that this incident is possible took place between the time of Hazrat Isa radiallahu anhu and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he was directed towards a rahib, towards a monk. So the shurrah say that this is indicating towards the time of after Hazrat Isa radiallahu anhu. So to take a story of the past in order for us to take lessons, it is permissible. So كان في من كان قبلكم رجل قتل 99 نفسا. Now this individual from the past, from the previous nation, he had murdered and killed 99 people. He had killed and murdered 99 people, possible out of enmity and hatred. So again, from here, we can learn that a person may have committed many types of sins. Murdering, killing itself is one of the big sins and one of the major sins. So imagine 99 major sins that he has committed. At times, inshallah, we would have never done this, one or two major sins at all. But this individual had committed 99 murders. And even though he had committed those sins, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to change a person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He puts some goodness in that person's, puts a good thought in the person's mind. So when something like this does come to our mind, when a good thought comes to our mind, for example, we are walking and it just comes to our mind that, chalo, let me just put something in charity, or let me give something in charity. You didn't think of it, you didn't plan it, and just a good thought come to your mind. Or you're walking and you remember the marhum, you remember the deceased, and you thought, chalo, let me just pray Surah Al-Ikhlas 3 times. So that thought that comes to the person's mind immediately, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If a person has a capacity and ability to do that amal immediately. And when we do that, then inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make more opportunities and chance for us where we will be inclined towards goodness. So he had committed 99 murders. فَسَأَلَ عَنْ أَعْلَمِ أَهْلِ الْأَرْضِ. So he went around and he asked that if he can be directed and guided towards the most learned and educated person at that time. So again, here we learn to seek out from the right resources and from the right places. So when you want clarification, when you want something, we go to the right person. So he said that, can he guide me, people around, towards the most learned and most educated person. فَدُلَّ عَلَى رَاهِبٍ فَأَتَاهُ. Now he was directed towards a monk, towards a rahib, that go to this worshipper. He's been worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all his life. He will have an answer for you. He's been spending his whole day behind Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will have some answer for you. So go to him. So فَدُلَّ عَلَى رَاهِبٍ فَأَتَاهُ. So now this individual had killed 99 people. He came to this rahib. He came to this monk. And he narrated his story. And he's told his life that, for the last X number of years, I have committed these many murders. فَقَالَ إِنَّهُ قَتَلَ 99 نَفْسًا. The reason why he narrated the sin and he exposed himself, فَهَلْ لَهُ مِن تَوْبَةٍ. Why? The reason is because he wanted to be forgiven. So he asked this monk who has been worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has dedicated his life behind Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is there any tawbah for me? Is there any chance of me being forgiven? فَقَالَ لَهُ. So now this monk, this rahib, he thought and he said, no, there is no chance of you being forgiven. So now, point here is that a person may have done many sins. When we want to be forgiven, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make way for us. So this person went to this monk and this rahib. This monk, there's 2 points here, 2 mistakes he made. One of them is that he took away the hope that this person had. He had some hope. That's why he went and asked that, is there any chance? There must be a chance, there must be a way where I will be forgiven. So by saying no, he took away this hope. And number 2, he restricted the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He restricted the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by giving the answer, no, that you're not going to be forgiven. So here we can understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy is greater than what we think. Now when we want to seek forgiveness, when we want to seek clarification, we go to the right person. In the next part of the hadith, we'll cover this part here again. So the sin that he committed was murder. So he said no. فَقَتَلَهُ. So now this person, out of anger, he finished him off as well. He thought, I've killed 99 anyway, so one's not going to do any harm. He finished him off as well because he didn't like the answers. He killed him as well. فَكَمَّلَ بِهِ مِئَةً. So now he's, completed 100. ثُمَّ سَأَلَ. Again, some time went by. Some thought come to his mind. عَنْ عَالَمِ أَهْلِ الْأَرْضِ. He went and asked that, is there any educated person in the zameen, in the town, where I can go and seek? فَدُلَّ عَلَى رَجُلٍ عَالِمٍ. Now this time he was directed towards a scholar, towards an educated person. فَقَالَ إِنَّهُ قَتَلَ مِئَةَ نَفْسٍ فَهَلْ لَهُ مِنْ تَوْبَةٍ فَقَالَ نَعَمْ وَمَنْ يَحُولُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ التَّوْبَةِ. So now this time he was directed towards an educated person, towards a scholar. Again he went and he said to this scholar that, look, I've killed 100 people. I've committed 100 big sins, major sins. Is there any chance or is there any opportunity for me to be forgiven? Now this time the scholar, the alim, he replied and he said, Na'am, yes. There is hope, there is a chance. Allama Qurtubi rahmatullahi alayhi, he says here that what we learn from this is the virtue of ilm, virtue of an alim, virtue of ilm over ibadat, over an abid. So we learn the virtue of knowledge over just worshipping, or virtue of an alim over an abid, over a worshipper. Because the first person who had ibadat, who was a worshipper, he did not have the complete knowledge. He didn't have the right knowledge. Now because he did not have the right knowledge, yes, he had ibadat in his life, but because he didn't have the right knowledge, at times we do something which we think is correct, but it is wrong. So in this aspect, in this incident here, he gave the answer such that he brought destruction to himself and also to the other person at that time. But the second person that he went to an alim, the person who had ilm, he, through his ilm, through the nur of his ilm, he gave the right answer. He saved himself and he also saved the sinner. So Allama Qurtubi rahmatullahi alayhi, he highlights here that we learn the virtue, we learn the fada'il of ilm over ibadat. So what we understand here is, for our sake, is that when we want to do an amal, we should always try to learn that what's the correct method of me doing this amal. Why? Because at times we may be doing the amal, but it is not right, it is not correct. The amal will not be valid, will not be accepted, even though we think in our minds that it is correct. And at times when we do seek the knowledge, when we seek the right rulings, we will be able to carry out that amal in a correct manner, we will be able to protect ourselves. For example, this not many people do, inshallah, they will be able to do so, is before a person does get married, he should learn the whole concept of nikah, and at the same time the concept of divorce and talaq. Many a times people don't understand what talaq is, what divorce is, and they utter the words of divorce. They do not realize the rulings, they do not know the rulings, and then afterwards they say, oh, it was out of anger I said something. Who's going to say out of love I divorce you? It's common sense. So we try to learn. So that's what we learn from this, that we need to learn and educate and learn the masail. Aqaid is on one side, we need to learn our aqaid, we need to have the correct beliefs, correct aqidah, and at the same time, masail are also necessary, so that with the amal that we do carry out, they are correct and they are valid and accepted. So the second individual that he went to was an alim, so he gave some hope and he said, فَقَالَ نَعَمْ. Yes, there is some hope for you, you will be forgiven. However, there's a condition. What is the condition? وَمَنْ يَحُولُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ التَّوْبَةِ. So he said that, what do you think is stopping you? So the alim said that, what is stopping you from between you and the tawbah? Meaning, there's nothing stopping you here. He's giving some hope. Sometimes the shaitan thinks, shaitan puts his thought in our minds that, I've committed such a big sin. Allah protect and Allah protect ourselves. A person may think that I've committed zina, for example. And I've done such a bad thing. How the shaitan will say that, how can he be forgiven? So here 9900 murders he had committed. So the shaitan would say that, how can he be forgiven? There's no chance of you be forgiven. So we need to fight these thoughts of the shaitan and the whispers of the shaitan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, he says that, in the Quran, Ya ibadi alladhina asrafu ala anfusihim la taqnatu min rahmatillah, that my servants, whose servants? Those who have oppressed themselves. By committing a sin, we oppress ourselves, we harm ourselves. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, La taqnatu min rahmatillah, do not become despondent and do not lose the hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His mercy is great. So we should not lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We just need that one mercy of Allah and everything will be wiped away. Like on the seaside, on the ocean, when there is dirt there, gathered together at one place, as soon as the wave comes, it removes all that dirt. It takes away all the dirt away from that place. Like this, a person may be, full of the sins and the filth, but if he sincerely turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he only requires one portion of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and everything will be wiped away. So, وَمَنْ يَحُولُ بَيْنُهُ وَبَيْنَ التَّوْبَةِ. So this person gave some hope, and this alim said that, what is stopping you from being forgiven? However, the condition is, انطلق إلى أرض كذا وكذا فإن بها أناسا يعبدون الله فاعبد الله معهم ولا ترجع إلى أرضك فإنها أرض سوء. However, the condition is that you're here in your town. You being here is taking you into disobedience, is taking you towards more sins. So what you need to do is that you need to move from this town and go to such a place. So انطلق إلى أرض كذا, go towards Basra. Why? فإن بها أناس. In Basra, in the land of Basra, there are people, there are worshippers who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَاعْبُدِ اللَّهَ مَعَهُمْ. You also go there and you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with them. وَلَا تَرْجِعْ إِلَىٰ أَرْضِكَ فَإِنَّهَا أَرْضُ سَوْءٍ. And don't return back to this place. Don't come back to this town of yours. Why? Because this town and this land for you is an evil land for you. So here, the condition is that if we want tawbah, if we want our forgiveness to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to do a couple of things. Number one, we need to move away from the place of sin. We need to move away from the thing that is causing us to commit the sin. So when we move away from the place of the sin, when we move away from the cause and the means of the sin, then there's the chance of our tawbah being accepted. Number two, the second thing that we learn is فَإِنَّ بِهَا أُنَاسًا يَعْبُدُونَ اللَّهِ. We need to adopt the company of good people. Those people who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Adopt their company. Refrain from the company of evil. Refrain the company of those people who have bad habits. Why? Because their scent and their habits will brush onto you very easily. Very slowly, very easily, you will not realize, but the habits will creep into you. You may not realize at that time, but you will see the results of it later on. That's why he's told here that you need to move away from here and adopt the good company. When you are in the company of good people, then there is a chance of tawbah being accepted, and also there's a chance of changing your life. So this is what we need to learn. Now in this world, at times we take a person as a friend, and we think that this person is a person that I need to stay and live my life with and spend my time with. Then a person, when he passes away, he realizes that the person that I used to hang around with and I used to spend my time with, what has he done? He has destroyed me. He has made me forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the Day of Judgment, he will say, Ya waylata laytani lam attakhidh fulanan khalila. Only if I did not take the person or such a person as my friend. Why? He has brought destruction, for eternal destruction for myself. Only if I didn't take that person as a friend. That's why we need to be very careful who we choose. The Mawlana Sayyid Dawla Sahib Hafidhahullah, he has a kitab, it's called Inspiration. In there, in one of the topics, around I think page number 85, around there, he's got a topic about bad company or good company. And he highlights that we should look for three things. We should look for three things when you're choosing a company, when you're choosing a friend. Number one, that the being in that company should be reminded of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you are in the company of that person, he may speak or he may not speak, Just being in their company, you should be reminded of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And like this, number two, by being in their company, it increases the knowledge of your deen and the understanding of your deen. By in their company, it increases the knowledge and the understanding of your deen. And the third thing that you look out for is that by being in their company, it increases the fikr and the worry and the concern of the hereafter. So the number one was that being in their company, you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have the holidays, we have the other days, we have the weekends, we hang around with people. If that person is reminding you of salah, if that person is reminding you of your adhkar, if that person is reminding you of your the tilawat of the Quran, etc., that person is good. If the person, it doesn't remind you of salah at all, if the person doesn't remind you of any goodness at all, it doesn't remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it doesn't remind you of the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that means that person is not good, that company is not good company. So first one is that it reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, being in that company, it increases the understanding of your deen. What is right, what is wrong, what I should do, what I should not do. We are in the good weather at the moment. At times, our youngsters, they will dress in such a way that the satar will be uncovered. And they will not realize, so many times that the parent come to the, madrasa, for example, they come into their children, to drop their children off. The parent themselves, the mother herself, or the father himself, are coming in such a manner that it is against the deen. They're trying to put deen into their children's life, but their practical life is completely different at the time of dropping them off to madrasa. Allah protect and Allah forbid that there are times where we have heard that the child is being dropped off in the car and the music is being played at the same time. So the mother is dropping the child off to the madrasa, but she's listening to music at the same time. Or the weather is good, the father himself is in shorts and is dropping the child off to madrasa. So the company should increase you to an understanding of the deen. So the second condition is that being in their company, the understanding of the deen increases. And number three, being in their company also increases the worry and the concern of the hereafter. That the time I'm spending here, is it taking me towards Jannat or not? The action I am carrying out now, is that going to take me towards Jannat or is it going to take me towards Jahannam? The habits that I have, is it going to be taking me towards Jannat or Jahannam? If these three conditions are met, then you can say that this company is good for me. However, if these conditions are not met, then the person needs to reflect and think to himself that, what am I doing? Which way am I heading? If a person takes account of himself and reflects on his life, then it will become easier for him. There are many people, inshallah, who will be, a good company for you. If you don't have good company physically, Quran is present for us, a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is present for us, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is present, and that way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will put your love into other people. There's a hadith, long hadith, where Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam is told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this individual on earth, he is a very good friend of mine. Obviously, how do you bring the friendship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is another topic. But the Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam is told that this person on earth is a very good friend of mine. You also become his friend and you also have love for him. The Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam now, he makes the announcement among the angels that all of the angels, this individual on earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has love for him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is friend, and I also have love and I'm also his friend. You also have love and muhabbat for him as well. Now the angels also become the beloved of this individual. Now the announcement is made on earth. The announcement is made on earth that all of you listen, that this individual on earth is a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also the Jibreel and the Malaika. You also have muhabba and friendship for him as well. So this is how a person will be able to build the friendship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, we'll continue the hadith, what happened after this when he was told to migrate from this place of sin. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to also give us the ability to understand how important it is for us to have good company, and also at the same time to abandon sins and leave sins. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to put these points into practice. Allahumma ameen. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallah bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati ma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, bi rahmatika ya rabbi. Jazakum.